see, but here we are. Alright, I'll go in first. Activate your holo imager when I summon for you.
Aye, sir. Okay. Now back to that file.
Yes, this should do very nicely. Very nicely indeed.
Okay, what's this big, secretive... Wow.
I thought you might like it. And I think you will too, but it's gonna have to wait till next time, so until then, all I can say is...
Wait, sir. Let me say it just this once.
Go ahead.
Okay. Here we go again.
Answer. This game show started its original run before the modern day Price is Right and continues to this day. Its rules are incredibly simple, yet it's one of the hardest games to play. You'd have to be a master of trivia to even get on this show. Question? Coming up on the Game Show Reviewer.
In the not-so-distant future, a time-traveling experiment known as the Tempest program was undergoing their first live trial. This did not go according to plan. Unknown to anyone, an extra-dimensional force, known by the call sign of Orion 3, seized control of the test aircraft, hurling plane and pilot off course and around time. Their mission, the complete destruction of Tempest 1. Now, faced with incredible odds against him, the game show reviewer ducks in and out of time, still managing to review his favorite game shows while staying one step ahead of the evil forces, and all the while still hoping that his next leap will be the leap home.
Howdy y'all, I'm your game show reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud. Well, I think my opening answer is pretty obvious. What is Jeopardy? Let's find out. I'll take rules and gameplay for 400.
This is Jeopardy!
Since we're under the category of gameplay, I'll stick to the rules and structure. We're first introduced to our 3 contestants for the day, usually by name, occupation, and where they're from. The contestant on the far left is the returning champion from the previous episode, which is why the total amount of winnings is announced with them. After our host, legendary game show host Alex Trebek, is introduced, we're shown this iconic board. There are 3 main rounds of gameplay, starting with...
Oh, Jeopardy!
Followed by...
Oh, Double Jeopardy!
And finally...
Oh, Final Jeopardy!
Thanks, Wade. The first 2 rounds have 6 categories of clues to select from. These categories are usually a play on words or a pun about the 5 clues below it.
I've got a 6-pack. On bass and drums, we want you to name the group. We want you to gas up. Notice the quotation marks there. Ode Trip.
Remind you of anything?
We have TV or not TV, the crown jewels. He's such a ham. Don't let go, smoke rings, and I'm all mixed up.
Okay, got my obligatory pyramid reference out of the way. The returning champion was granted control of the board and the game would begin. Whichever contestant answered a question correctly would be granted control next. Contestants could select any of the 30 clues on the board without restriction, although the most common pattern is going from top to bottom on a category. Let's talk about the clues themselves, because this is what most tend to forget about this show, and this is actually where the title comes into play. This is the only quiz show on television that never asks a single question. It does, however, provide plenty of answers. It's up to the contestant to provide the questions, resulting in all, quote, answers being in the form of a question.
Shelley's Ode to the West Wind asks, if winter comes, can this be far behind? Andy?
What is spring?
Yep.
More on this later. As with any game show, a correct response grants the contestant that clue's value. However, an incorrect response will have the opposite effect, deducting that amount of cash from a contestant's total. In effect, with every buzz-in, the contestant's cash is, quote, in jeopardy, so to speak. There's actually a second way for a contestant to lose money on a clue, and that's to simply run out of time, as indicated by the blinking lights in the front of the podium. The standard Jeopardy and double Jeopardy rounds really only had one major difference between them, and that was the dollar values, which were doubled. After all was said and done, there was Final Jeopardy. Contestants must have some amount of money left to advance to this round, and believe it or not, there have been a few contestants who finished in the red, so to speak, and not allowed to advance to the final Jeopardy round. Before this round begins, the contestants are shown a category and asked to wager how much of their remaining money they want to risk on this clue. Alex Trebek would then reveal the clue, after which contestants would have 30 seconds to write out a response. Those 30 seconds, by the way, are being timed out by this famous music cue known as the Think Cue. Finally, in the order of last place to first, the contestant's final response and wager would be revealed. The only limit on the wager, by the way, was the contestant's total. They even had the option of wagering nothing. Not that it would help, but it wouldn't hurt. After all the wagers and final totals are shown, Alex would acknowledge the winner of the show and sign off.
Please join us tomorrow. So long.
The winner would be back on our next episode as our, quote, returning champion. Actually, I always wonder what the contestants are talking about here during the ending credits. Now, despite the fact that this may be an answers and questions quiz show, and despite the fact that the trivia might be some of the hardest you'll ever see on TV, it's still a very simple game to play. In fact, it's a game show formula that's worked for years. How many, you ask? Well, I'll take game show history for 800. Oh yeah, I forgot about these.
Answer there. Daily Double giving you a chance to take the lead away from our champion.
I can't believe I forgot about these. Well, in the standard Jeopardy round, a single clue was hiding a daily double. Taking a cue from horse and dog racing tracks, this daily double could either help or severely hurt a contestant. After one is revealed, the contestant is asked for a wager on this question. This can be as little as $5 or as much as their current score is, resulting in...
I will make it a true daily double.
All right.
Now, remember the rule on this show. You either know the answer and gain money, or don't and lose money. No difference here, and it is truly possible to lose every penny earned on one of these daily doubles. Like I said, can help or severely hurt. There were 2 of these clues on the board during Double Jeopardy, same rules applying. And believe it or not, that's it. That's really all the rules and gameplay summed up in just under 5 minutes. Like Family Feud, part of the fun of this show is its simplicity, something that made this show a hit before Alex Trebek took the reins of it. So now I'll let Sarah explain what has changed about this show since it began.
Very little other than set design has changed about this show since Alex Trebek first took the helm of it. However, there had previously been a Jeopardy on the air, one that set the bar for this one to surpass. Game show history for 1200.
Before we take a look at Jeopardy's history, we first need to make a pit stop in the mid-1950s, when quiz shows were all the rage. Shows like Tic-Tac-Joe and 21 offered up new and entertaining ways to win money quickly. However, behind the scenes, it was a different story. In a bid to get better ratings and to make the show more exciting, some contestants were actually given the answers ahead of time. You can imagine how this played out when it was exposed.
No, sir, I'm not too happy.
Almost all American quiz shows were suddenly seen as unclean and canceled before the 50s had ended. This might have signaled the end of the quiz show genre had it not been for one TV producer's ingenious idea.
That idea being give the answers to the contestants, but make them supply the questions. This is the idea legendary producer Merv Griffin pitched to NBC. They picked it up without even seeing a pilot. Thus, Jeopardy was created, premiering on March 30th, 1964. Your original host was Art Fleming.
Jeopardy presents today's 3 contestants. This is Miss Kim Elam from New York City. This is Mr. Kent Jarrell from Vienna, Virginia. And this is our champion, Mrs. Karen Streisman from Freeville, New York. These 3 people will compete today on Jeopardy! And now, here's the...
One thing the show had going for it was its time slot, which was around the lunchtime. This was a massive advantage over primetime because people could watch the show during their lunch break and walk away probably learning some new interesting trivia from the show. Jeopardy was a runaway hit almost from the get-go, and this lasted for about 10 years. Year 11 is when it all suddenly hit the fan. Shifting time slots, tinkering with gameplay, and so forth led to the show eventually ending on December 3rd, 1975.
If you come back late, Amy tomorrow. Have to go. Have a good day. See you then. Bye.
Jeopardy was revived for the first time on October 2nd, 1978, in all original form, with the original host returning.
Friends, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, players. Come to play the game, and welcome to Jeopardy, America's favorite answer and question game, where we give you the answer and you must come up with the questions.
The original rules, however, were slightly modified. Standard Jeopardy was identical to the original. At the end of the round, however, the player with the lowest score was eliminated. Double Jeopardy was then played by the two remaining players. At the end of that round, the contestant with the lowest score was again eliminated. Final Jeopardy was completely replaced with this.
Well, Brian, you're facing that Super Jeopardy bonus board for the very first time, so this is your chance to win $5,000. Now,
Super Jeopardy. Jeopardy Bingo, maybe? So, yeah. The incredibly tense Final Jeopardy round was replaced with the lightning round style version of Bingo. I fail to see the point. This wasn't the only misstep of this show, however. There was another major problem behind the scenes. NBC had placed the show against a ratings monster on CBS, a little show you might have heard of called The Price is Right. Oops. 3 months into its run, it was decided to try another time spot, this time going against the $20,000 Pyramid on ABC. This move didn't work, however, and the show was canned a mere 6 months after premiering on March 2nd, 1979.
3 years later, Merv Griffin launched a new game show in syndication known as Wheel of Fortune. Following its success, he decided it was time to bring Jeopardy back to the airwaves. On September 10th, 1984, the modern-day Jeopardy hit the airwaves for the very first time. Hosting was Alex Trebek, and announcing was Johnny Gilbert.
This is Jeopardy! Now entering the studio are today's...
And you know what? It's 29 years later, and Jeopardy is still going strong. Yes, there have been a few changes. Money values increased and sets redesigned. But you know what? No matter how you slice it, this is still the exact same game show that premiered in 1984. That is the power of a good game show formula.
Occasionally, Jeopardy conducts specials, such as the Tournament of Champions. The top winners from the season would be invited back to play for much bigger stakes. There's also the teen tournament, the college tournament, and most recently, the teachers tournament. And of course, who can forget the famous IBM Challenge, the show that proved that artificial intelligence had advanced well beyond the average Jeopardy player and would eventually lead indirectly into the creation of the Tempest 1 AI.
Sarah, remember, we only do history up to 2012, and I already mentioned this show along with the famous Ken Jennings run in my top 10 unforgettable game show moments episode.
Oh, sorry, sir. It's hard to remember stuff that happens when I'm offline.
Good point. The success of a game show is largely dependent on two factors: its audience and its gameplay formula. Now, while producers may have no control over the former factor, they have total control over the latter. Spin-offs and remakes have it particularly difficult because they're tampering with a proven game show formula. For Final Jeopardy, we have this. Oh boy, couldn't talk about America's Quiz Show without going into this. So one day, someone behind the scenes came along with a bright idea.
How about a game show like Hollywood Squares, but with kids? Gary Coleman could host.
Okay, actually it was a Jeopardy for kids. Now, I must admit, in principle, this had good potential to work. Too bad in practice it ended up looking like this.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, sweet mercy. What is up with that theme music? Where's the familiar Jeopardy melody? Ah, that's better. I'll be honest here, I'm not sure what this show's trying to say. Is it saying we dumbed down Jeopardy for kids? Or is it saying we made Jeopardy more flashy for kids? I think it's a little of both, but I can't be certain. So this is Jep, of Jeopardy for Kids.
Everybody at home, welcome to Jep, where our players will compete today for great prizes by answering clues in the form of a question.
First change you'll notice is the contestants aren't merely standing at their podiums. They're sitting in what looks like fighter jet seats, completely strapped in and everything. Wow, is this show really that intense?
George Clooney jumps into the action on this TV drama. Daria.
What is ER?
ER is absolutely correct.
That would be a no. By the way, what the hell is up with those buzzing sound effects?
Gilbert.
Can you imagine real Jeopardy with those sound effects being played?
In 1916, Patton was an acting aide to this man, commander of World War I's American Expeditionary Forces.
Who's Pershing?
Right.
Anyways, as opposed to Jeopardy, Jep only had 5 categories per round, each with 4 questions. Also, the contestants didn't pick out the question point value from a grid. No. That was done from this spinner that randomized the point value. Let's put that under the We Dumbed Down Jeopardy for Kids category. The questions being asked here are of course easier than usual, but no more easy than questions asked during the Kids Week specials or teen tournaments played during regular Jeopardy. Oh, but wait, there's more. You might have noticed these 3 lights atop the podiums. These are not your standard buzz-in timer lights, no. These are Jeopardy lights. These light up whenever a contestant answers a question incorrectly, as if losing points wasn't bad enough. The first one was a warning light. On the second one, something was dropped on the contestant, like confetti or packing peanuts. The third one put the contestant out of the game for a single question, referred to as being put behind the wall. You know, if that was slime that was being dropped on these kids, this would be a Nickelodeon game show. Honestly, this was pointless in my opinion. It only served to slow the game down and make it more flashy for kids. Also, this show had the most strict rules when it came to responses.
It's the branch of medicine that studies the heart. Roland.
What is the cardiac branch?
No, that's incorrect, Roland. Tracy.
What is the cardiovascular?
Judges? No? Got one to try?
No.
I didn't think so. What is cardiology?
The rounds were renamed the Jep round, the Hyper Jep round, and the Super Jep round. The final Jeopardy round, the Super Jep round, was played just like its adult counterpart. No differences.
We have some great prizes for you, Carl, but we want to give our other prizes away first, starting with Gilbert, who is in third place. Gilbert, we have 2 choices for you to pick from. Let's take a look at the first one.
Alright, we aren't done yet. The day's winners then picked prizes from a prize pool or something like that. Honestly, I lost interest at the Hyper Jep round. Luckily, this show only lasted a single season on Game Show Network, running from January 30th, 1998 to September 1st, 2000. So, by dumbing down some aspects of the gameplay, making the rules just slightly tougher, and adding in Nickelodeon-style forms of punishment, this show gets this special award from me. However, we aren't done yet, dear viewers. No. There was yet another remake. However, well, let's take a look at this one, shall we?
This is Rock and Roll Jeopardy! And here's our host, Jeff Probst.
Rock and Roll Jeopardy! You know, this may as well have been a special on Standard Jeopardy! Hosted by Jeff Probst, future Survivor host, Rock and Roll Jeopardy was played identically to its counterpart. There were only 2 differences, one of which was actually corrected. Difference 1, there were no returning champions. Difference 2, like Jep, this show at first used points. This was corrected by the show's 3rd and final season. I must admit as well, I'm a fan of the main title cue. Believe it or not, you can actually still hear this theme music today. It's used during the Jeopardy teen tournaments and college tournaments.
This is the Jeopardy College Championship. Here are today's contestants.
The think cue also sounds pretty good. You know, I think I know why this show only lasted 3 years. Because, well, it was Jeopardy, without changes. However, there's nothing wrong with Real Jeopardy, so why tune into a show that restricts its trivia to music-related categories when you could tune into a show that had such a wide and diversified range? That's not a dig against this show. I swear, I have nothing against this show. It's Jeopardy. Just like the Real Jeopardy. And once again, all I've offered up here are opinions only.
Well, it's time for this. Look for me on Access Hollywood, and we'll see you here next time for Rock and Roll Jeopardy. So long, everybody.
And with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it all up. Hopefully I've questioned some of your answers about this great show. And I'll tell you what, it's definitely one of my favorites. Well, I'm your game show reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud. I'll see you next time.
Well, that was refreshing. Nothing quite like a visit to the game show Temple of Knowledge.
I'll tell you what, Sarah, let's try for the 22nd century with this leap.
Aye, sir. Setting target coordinates and... Hold on. I'm detecting a leap event.
A what?
When something time leaps, it gives off a very specific signature. I first noticed it with Tempest 1. This one is different, though. Similar, but different.
Yeah, I think I know why. Sarah, go. Go, Sarah. Go. Right now. Go. Leap!
Captain, did I see what I thought I saw?
I thought you saw Orion 3, then I'm afraid you did. I thought they couldn't track us.
No. Of course, how could I not think of it?
Sarah?
Finley feud, sir. She seemed in total control even when you appeared to have her at gunpoint. She wasn't after you, sir. She was after me. More specifically, this plane. Her AI must have found a way to track the plane through our leaps.
By the way, why isn't my control yoke vibrating?
Unknown, sir, although... check your scanner readout.
Abort the leap, I don't care where.
I can't, sir. It's like we leapt into another craft's time leap field. Basically, we leapt into their time frame. We can't leap while we're inside it, and we don't have any engines to get outside of it.
Well, can you ID the craft at least? I mean, I'm guessing it's that large blob on the scanners.
Well, I've got to name an agency from markings, but it can't be right. I've only seen this agency on a game show.
What do you have for me, Sarah?
Ship agency is Acme Time Net, and ship name is...
Chrono Skimmer. Oh, here we go again.
All right, contestant 38.
Art, I'll take air shuttle disasters for 40.
The answer is the Mayflower.
Space Monkey Mafia Studios.